So this man showed us that zombies might actually exist, with a scientific explanation behind them. Back in 1980, he walked into a small village in Haiti and approached a woman in the marketplace. He claimed to be her brother Clairvius and proved it with all sorts of facts that only he would know. The catch? She had watched him die in an American-run hospital 18 years prior. He was pronounced dead by 2 doctors. The body was placed in cold storage for 20 hours. Then she watched as he was placed in a sealed coffin and buried in a cemetery just north of their village. 10 days later, a heavy concrete memorial slab was placed over the grave by the family. So this caught the attention of a local psychiatrist, Lamarck Dion, who'd been researching tales of zombies for decades, but this was the first verifiable case. He worked with the locals to design a series of detailed questions about his childhood that only Narcisse would be able to answer. He passed. When the BBC got wind, they verified the details with the hospital and checked the death certificate. But what about his story? In Haiti, the law says that all land gets divided equally amongst male offspring. When his father died, Narcisse refused to sell his piece to his brother, who then may have contracted with a sorcerer called a bokor to have him zombified. Narcisse tells of being conscious the entire time. He heard his sister weeping as he was pronounced dead, and remembers the spike being driven through the coffin into his cheek during the funeral. After his funeral, he describes being dug up by the sorcerer and then taken to work as a slave alongside other zombies for the next 2 years. At which point the zombie master was killed, the slaves were freed, and he spent the next 16 years wandering the countryside, waiting for the death of his vengeful brother before coming home. So this all happened. But how? Welcome back to What the Science, Spooky Time. When this story got out, some folks raised money and sent a young Harvard ethnobotanist named Wade Davis down to Haiti to investigate. His mission? To discover a pharmacological basis or zombie poison that was responsible for the phenomenon, and get samples that could maybe be turned into a new surgical anesthetic. At one point, even NASA was interested to develop artificial hibernation for astronauts. Davis's initial research pointed to a local plant, appropriately named zombie cucumber. Do not make a zombie cucumber salad. It contains psychoactive compounds known to cause delirium, amnesia, and a stuporous state. But when he got there, Davis realized he could not simply ask for the poison. He had to immerse himself in Haitian Vodun culture, gaining the trust of the Hongans, the priests, and Bokors, the sorcerers. This involved participating in complex and sometimes dangerous rituals, once even being forced to hold a burning coal in his bare hand. This initiated him into a secret society called the Bazengo, and finally convinced a sorcerer named Marcel Pierre to show him the zombie poison's preparation. Although the convincing still involved a complex negotiation process, and a bluff by Davis where he used sleight of hand to pretend to poison himself to prove his own strength. Well done. The first zombie poison ingredient? The ground up bones of a baby human girl that Davis helped them dig up from the grave. Next, some freshly killed blue lizards, a toad, a sea snake, many local plants, and a pufferfish, which contains tetrodotoxin, a poison 1,000 times more potent than cyanide. It blocks voltage-gated sodium channels, disrupts the nervous system, and at just the right dose, can induce paralysis. There are multiple case reports from Japan where they eat pufferfish, where people declared dead from poisoning later woke up. One did as his body was being removed from the cart in the crematorium. Talk about just in the nick of time. In some parts of Japan, a person declared dead from eating pufferfish is customarily allowed to lie alongside his or her coffin for 3 days before burial. But back to Haiti. This 2024 study theorized that tetrodotoxin survivors might have permanent vocal damage that makes their voice more nasal. And it, plus some oxygen deprivation, might affect muscle coordination. And the zombie cucumber? It was used in the antidote, given after digging the zombie out of the grave. But it doesn't actually cure tetrodotoxin, because nothing does. But Davis theorized that it, alongside the native Haitian beliefs, would act in a way that convinced the people who get dug up that they were actually the walking dead. Davis sent samples to the lab where they used it to paralyze animals. But some follow-up studies tried to get new versions of the poison and could not find enough active tetrodotoxin in them to produce the reported effects. They called out Davis for bad science, but perhaps their Bokor sources did what they first did to Davis and gave these uninitiated researchers fake versions of the powder. I, for one, would like to believe that the poison is real, and maybe even that some of those ingredients might modify the effect of the poison in some way. Hopefully not the human bones, but we may never know. So what do you think? Have I convinced you that zombies are real? Send this to a friend who doesn't believe